Hello, welcome to my file reader. I have got the first four tests working correctly, so you can create a file reader object, you can open a file from data folder, and it can close the file from data folder, and it can close a currently open file. Now my project can also open and read a simple DAE file, but the test just hasn't come back positive yet, because of I couldn't work out how to get that working, but it can technically open and read a simple DAE file. It can also open and read a large DAE file, but yeah, that doesn't come through positive either. Can't get nodes. It can't get subnodes, and it can't get attributes either. But yeah, it can do the other things. Now, a lot of the newer tests haven't been updated onto my project. I think I did something wrong, but my project wouldn't be able to pass those tests anyway, so I didn't think it was a big deal. My project can only pass the first four tests anyway, so there's no point even having the advanced tests loaded on, because it can't do them anyway. So what can my project do? Well, it can create a new file, it can open a file, it can save a file, it can read the save file, it can find a word within any file, it can read the backup of the save file, so when you save a file it'll create a backup, it can read that. It can close a file, and then of course you can just close a program. That's not really a functionality, but it can do that. I think the best way to show all this will be to just run the project. So, run that. And then yeah, 4 passed. So what do you want to do? Create a new file, open a file, save a file, yeah, you know. So let's create a file first, so let's do 1. What folder do you want to put the file in? So let's put data. And let's call the file test. File we created, so let's just check that out. If we go into data, then test has been created. It's an empty file, but it is so let's go back to the menu again, pressing 1. Let's open the file, so let's open simple, so that'll be data, simple. Then it reads all the lines from, it also tells us the number of lines in the file is 188, the content of the file is, and then it just reads out the file. That's pretty good, and then let's go back to the menu again. What if we want to save a file? So we don't want a file to get deleted by accident, so we want to save it somewhere. So let's save a file. What folder do you want the file? What is the file in that you want to save? Data, simple, and then yeah. So it gives you all the information again about that file that you've just saved, just so you know that you've saved the right file. And let's just check it out here. So we've got save, which has the file name that we've just saved. And then save data, which is just the exact copy of the file you saved. And to prove that it is saved, you can read the save file where it's pressing 4, and then yeah, it will just tell you the data within the file. It will tell you how much lines there is. Okay, so you want to be able to read a specific word from a specific file, so let's do that. So we're going to have to find a word. Let's do it for simple again, because it's the easiest file to read. What do you want to search for? The word node. Node has been found online, and it will just repeat every line the word node has been found on. Back to save files again. Let's read the backup of the save file just to prove that there is a backup of the save file. So we just press 6, and yeah, it will read the backup. Previously, when you read the saved file, it will actually read the file that you saved the name of. But this one here will read the backup of it. Let's close the file, so that's 7. The file is closed. Finally, let's close the program, so that's 8. And then that takes us to the menu where we can to close the program. Enter, and we're done. Okay, but how did I get it all to work? So let's go through the tests first. So what I've done is the requirements for all the tests could be hypothetically passed with the menu, but the tests run first. So the tests, alongside the tests, the information is there to pass them. So for example, this test here it wants to know if a file can open. So a file will open beforehand, it will check it, yeah, it's open. It shows that the project can open files. I'm not sure if this is the correct way, but I think it is. So yeah, all the tests pass because of what they do here before they're checked. So it would check if a new file can be created, and it can. It would check if a file can be closed, and it can. So that's how it works. So the tests, they the requirement for the test to be done, the test will check it, it will come back positive, and then it will go over to the menu afterwards, and the menu also has the capabilities to do what the test wants. So from the menu you can also create a file, you can also open a file, you can also close a file, but yeah, these are done beforehand as well. So first let's see how we've got these tests to pass. So first this one here wants to be able to see if a file can be opened, and marfile.open data/simple.dae, which is the file that the test is looking for. It's opened. If it's opened, return true. If it's not, it returns false. So yeah, the file is opened. It shows that I can open a file, and the test comes back true because of it. This wants to see if I can create a new file. So first of all, we remove the file because of this thing will constantly create the same file again. So if we didn't remove it first, it wouldn't be a fair test because of it wouldn't be creating a new file, it would be creating the same file again. So first of all we remove it. Then we create the file, data/new test file. Then we close that. Then we open it again. And then we get the contents of the file. And yeah, if the contents of the file, which are represented by line, if they're blank, then the test comes back true. If it's not blank, then it doesn't. Because the new file would be blank immediately, of course, so yeah, that's how the test works. If we can prove that we've created a new file which comes back with nothing, the test comes back positive. Okay, so this here test is looking if data/simple.dae can be closed. So first we open it, then we close it, then we check if it's open. If it is open, returns false. If it's not, returns true. So yeah, that's a good way to see if the test is working, see if we can close a file, close that specific file, which we can. Here's the closing current file, so what we do is we close the current file, check if the file is open. If it is open, then return false, and if it's closed, we return true. So yeah, that's all the tests, all 4 tests that I managed to get working. Again, I believe that if I could get the test working, that I could get the 5th test and 6th test passed, because of the menu does allow for what those tests are looking for. I just didn't know how to get the tests working. But yeah, that's how I get the test working. Again, if that isn't the correct way to do it, then the menu does also allow for what the tests are looking for. So from the menu you can create a new file, you can open any file you want, you can close a file, yeah. Okay, but that menu that we showed earlier, how does it work? So first you are asked the options, what do you want to do? Create a new file, open a file, save a file, read the saved file, find a word, find the backup of the saved file, close the file, or close the program. The user's response will be saved as answer 1, which, yeah, then there's a giant if statement, basically. So if answer 1 equals 1, this happens. If answer 1 equals 2, this happens. Yeah, you know. So if you answer 1, which is to create a new file, then there's a lot of things that we need to get. We need to work out what folder they want to put the file in, and then what they want to call that file. So first of all, they are asked what folder they want to put it in. Then that is saved as folder name. Now folder name, it has to be a folder that's alongside the project. So it could be .github, data, debug, packages, tests, or Time64, but of course we're going to use data because that's the only folder that's really meant for this. Okay, but then we need to make it so it can be used to actually find to create the new file. So then we create folder name plus, which is folder name plus and a slash. That will be useful later on. Then what do you want to call your file? Again, it's asked what do you want to call a file? That's saved as name of file, and then name of file plus is name of file plus.dae, because we're only really working with DAE files. So this will allow us to create a DAE file. Then the new file is created, which will be my create file, which will be folder name plus and name of file plus. So it will essentially be folder name slash name of file .dae. So yeah, that will allow us to create the file exactly where they want it to be, and that will be closed, and then it'll be opened as my file, and yeah, it's created. Okay, when it comes to opening a file, first of all, what folder do you want to open? Same sort of principle as last time, it has to be alongside the project. That will be named as folder name, yeah, turn to folder name plus. Same with name of file. When you're asked what file to create, we tend to name of file plus.de, which is name of file plus, and then yeah, that file is opened. Number of lines equals 0. This is so when it's counting the lines, it doesn't start as a weird number. It wouldn't normally, but it's just a safety precaution. And then yeah, it gets the lines, and it will just, yeah, that will be so it can output it there. But yeah, first of all, the number of lines in the file is numLines, which yeah, you keep plussing for each line there is. So it will equal the amount of lines there is in the file, and then it will say the content of the lines, which yeah, it'll say the content of it. Saving a file. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to close save file and save data file, just because of if you went back in this a second time, it would error if those files are open. And it asks the same thing, what folder is the file you want to save in, what file do you want to save, and yeah, the same thing, it tends to name a file plus and folder name plus. Then save file is open as save.txt, which is here, and save data file.open, well, save data file is opened as savedata.txt, which is here. Numlines equals 0, so we can count the lines again. The same sort of deal is done so it can read out the file. So it's basically so you know that you've saved the right file, because if it wasn't outputting anything, then you've clearly not saved the file with anything in it. So yeah, it does the exact same thing as it would if it opens the file. The content that is taken from that file is then saved to save data file, so then we get an exact replica of it. So if we look here, save data, well yeah, it will be an exact replica of simple, because that's the last thing we saved to it. And then save file is equal to folder name plus name of file plus. So basically what's needed to find the whatever file saved is then saved as part of save file. So save then equal data./simple.da, so then we can read that to find what file has been saved. Talking about reading the file, that is exactly what this one does. So yeah, we close them, we open save.txt, which is the one with the line on it, we read the line, and then the line is opened as the file, and the line will be the file we want to open, if that makes sense. So say we save simple.dae, then save, the contents of the file save will be data/simple.dae. So when it goes to my file.open line, it will be my file.open data/simple.dae. So then yeah, then we do the same thing, we read the amount of lines, we read the contents of that file. Okay, finding a word in a file does the same thing. Opens file, opens folder, and then it asks what you want to search for. Whatever you put is saved as search for, then search equals search for, and then yeah, it gets the lines, it finds the lines, and it will be looking for whatever search is, and then that way it can tell you exactly what number line the word search is. So if we type in node, for example, then it will come back with with each number line which has the word node on it. Reading the backup of the save file, yeah, this is essentially just the same, but it will read save data file. So yeah, save data.txt, it will just read that. It will say the number of lines, and it will say the content of it. Closing a file, it's quite self-explanatory. myfile.close, then it will tell you that closing a file, nothing actually happens, but that's what all you need to do. So if you press 8, which is to close the program, then it will just skip straight ahead to asking again if you want to close the program. Because whenever you do something in the menu, it will ask you, do you want to go back to the menu, or do you want to close the program? Go back to the menu or close the program. If you press 1, then the file will close, and I will equal 0, which is what it needs for the while loop to continue. Again, that's safety measure, because I naturally would equal 0, there's nothing changing it, but I do it just in case. It goes back to the beginning of the while loop, and the menu loops again, but if you answer 2, then I equals 1, which breaks the while loop, so then the menu ends. So yeah, that's how you end the menu. So that's my file reader. It passes 4 tests. I think it could have passed 6 if I had more time. All's better, I guess. But yeah, so it can do all those things. And yeah, it passed 4 tests. I hope it's good. Thank you for listening.